Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ryan, and today I'm joined by
Dave.
Ted.
And today we talk about dragons and diversification.
Head down in the description below where you can get Nerdarchy, the newsletter. Learn how to game with Nerdarchy as well as gain weekly tips.
Now, you can't just invest in one dragon. You have to diversify. You have to buy low, sell high. You know, you just have a
portfolio is very important.
Your dragon portfolio.
Well, you can't really buy dragon eggs and hope that over the course of your lifetime that they're going to get big enough to
a nest egg of dragons to keep you sustained throughout the rest of your life. But what this video is really about is I brought up the idea of completely not worrying about the chromatic dragon sort of thing, like
the spectrum. So if you look at a dragon that's red, there's no guarantee that he's going to be breathing fire and that his stats are such and such.
Right. So I mean, we can pull dragons from the monster manual, but the idea is, in a way, no two dragons are actually alike. They're all very unique. They're unique special snowflakes.
So D&D dragons have always been, you've had the chromatic dragons, the metallic dragons, and then later on they added the gem dragons.
Right.
And then, there's all kinds of different drakes and diversification even from there. But in this instance, we're saying, let's all mix them up, and just because it's a gold dragon doesn't mean he has to breathe fire and be lawful good.
It doesn't mean he's good. Yeah, exactly. You could have the black dragon that breathes fire or lightning, or maybe a little from column A, a little from column B.
And he could be lawful good.
Exactly.
And do you go as far as to go, okay, not only are dragons not standard, but just because you're a black dragon doesn't mean you have to live in the swamp.
Right, absolutely. I think because
it really is kind of the getification of the black dragon. It's not right, it's not nice at all.
Exactly.
Let him out of the swamp, damn it.
So he could live in the Arctic if he basically, or it could be about the sort of energy type they do. If they breathe fire, they might live in the volcano area. So their breath weapon is really what determines what their region is. But we can just trade out those regional effects from one dragon to another.
We could, but then again, they're dragons. They're uber powerful beings and super smart. And I don't know, maybe you breathe cold, but you're like, I really like living where it's warm.
Yeah.
and it's really helpful to frost my drink.
Yeah. I mean, it's either which way, but also, did they get rid of the resistances or
no? They're still resistant.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, that climb is more pleasant to you, I would feel, is the thing. So if you if you breathe a cold breath weapon, then it just seems like you're inclined to be in cold climes because it feels comfortable to you.
Well, maybe you breathe cold.
I will disagree with you, because if Chili Willy has taught me anything, is even though you're basically adapted to a certain environment, that doesn't mean you really want to live there.
But hey, he didn't even get his own individual solo cartoon. He was just a part of the Woody Woodpecker show. So he was like a B-list character.
He got shorts.
D-list.
Yeah. So, but
wow,
essentially what we're saying is, how many of you guys have no
idea what we're talking about? So realistically, we want to get away from looking at the monster manual and being able to say, well, this says this, so therefore that's what this is.
Telegraphing it to your players. That's kind of problem is it's this kind of dragon. Well, the player that's played 50 sessions of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons knows the range of powers of the black dragon as it is written by the book. So just take the book.
So there's players that will sit and memorize the monster manual, and it's not that we have those kind of players and we want to say, haha, we got you because we're going to make changes.
We want to make more interesting monsters.
So if you sit there and while playing and this gigantic dragon, looms in the sky, you can't just be like, all right, well, I make a check and I know that that's such and such, so it's going to give me, this. I need to prepare this spell ahead of time.
Yeah.
So even in Chimes of Discordia in our own world, I've already taken some steps to making our dragons slightly different. I've introduced several dragon emperors, and oddly enough, they always encountered in a humanoid form.
Right.
I kind of stole this a little bit from Dragon Realms, Richard Knack, which was a series I really enjoyed. But I love how he always portrayed them as these these knights in this really elaborate armor, and they would always shapeshift into that form. And I found that very visually appealing to me. So I like incorporating that a little bit into our game and making and again being different from what is the norm for
putting our own
Dungeons & Dragons.
spin on what you typically expect to like. The idea is there is no like standard race of dragons. They're just very powerful beings that exist. I was talking about the idea of you could have a dragon that's kind of shaped and formed like a Loch Ness monster where it has like flippers, so maybe it doesn't fly, it swims, so that one or maybe it has magic to like levitate or something like that, but it's it's not flying by wing as you typically expect. So, and it could dwell underground, or maybe it takes on the more sort of like Asian dragons, the elongated form, and that sort of like mane, or something.
Or like the deep dragons from 3rd edition.
Right.
Yeah.
They were kind of more serpentine-like, more snake-like, and purple.
So like,
you'd be able to go in and make changes on a whim without anyone saying, "Oh, well, this says here such and such."
Yeah, part of my thing has been with Chimes of Discordia for when we think about world building stuff in general. Anyway, is like I want it to be much more mythological versus like Dungeons and Dragons is a bastardization of mythology essentially, and so like we're not married to any of the source material because they're just their writers did what they did, and that's fine. That's
cool.
Suggestions. Yeah, exactly. More like guidelines.
But it also allows us to take Chimes of Discordia, and every time we step further away from the core source material, if you will, it allows us to have something that's more unique, that's more enjoyable, and more memorable.
Yeah, it definitely becomes more us. See the Why Your Campaign Setting Sucks video where we talk about like the problem, the Tolkien problem, and this and that. But yeah. For sure.
Yeah, so with dragons and for anything in your campaign, really, you always want to put your spin on it. Like, the coolest stories they're not new; they've just been respun. A writer has come in and just tweak things a little bit. Usually, I was listening something where the research is the stories that are actually the best and most appealing are usually two familiar tropes or stories that have been matched together into something new.
Yeah, or maybe you're just watching one of our videos. But the idea of basically, usually when you get into music or literature or whatever, the more interesting thing, rather than just getting those primary source materials of that thing you're listening to, is then checking out the thing that influenced and inspired them. So, like, there's that entire list of the books that inspired the creation of Dungeons and Dragons in the back of, is it the Dungeon Master Guides or the Player's Handbook?
One of them.
So one of those books has like all these sort of list of references for what inspired Dungeons and Dragons, and also going back to mythology. Like that stuff is way more of a fruitful place than, and this is only if you have an interest in creating your own campaign world, because otherwise, feel free to like use established campaign worlds and whatever. But if you're going to make your own thing, make your own thing.
Absolutely.
Well, there's also that, but you can also take that stuff and kind of template it over top of what exists already.
Sure.
Like in the monster manual, because there's definitely some monsters in there that are pretty unique to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then, if you take, things from history or mythology, like you said, or folklore, and then you start kind of mapping that onto to them, whether it's a Knoll, a Beholder, or an Illithid, you've created something new and unique, and it's going to be fun and more memorable at your gaming table.
Yeah, so I think that about wraps it up. So if you've done anything cool and original or made some really cool dragons for your campaign world, tell us about them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
You can hang out with us at nerdarchy.com.
And you can also hang out with us over on Facebook.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.